Hey, welcome back to the Graphic Multiverse. I'm your host, Paul, joined with Angela.
God damn it, Subi.
Chandler.
Howdy, y'all.
And Rob.
Yeah!
Oh, Jesus Christ. I was going to say that we're well met, but I don't know.
You need to add a huge echo to that, please.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry.
You should be. I guess we're setting up the tone for this week's topic, where we've done book clubs before, but I think this is the first book.
This is I think this
a lot of words and stuff.
I think this should be the first
Slightly
official Multiverse Presents book club.
Yeah, book club. And this is fitting because this story actually deals with a multiverse, so it's kind of fitting. So this week we are diving into Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, book 1, The Gunslinger. And I'm excited, for better or for worse, to discuss this series because I have been fascinated by the world of Dark Tower for a long time. And I'm just going to open with this little short story about my introduction to the tower. Once upon a time, in the land of South Boston, a neighbor of ours in Southie was having a yard sale, and he was just selling a bunch of stuff, and he had a ton of books that he was selling, and I came across The Dark Tower. It was the first 4 books: Gunslinger, The Drawing of the Three, The Wastelands, and Wizard and Glass. Now, I don't know for sure what year it was, but I know that I was... You okay?
Yeah, I just had a brain fart. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm sorry. You didn't have to acknowledge it.
I know, but I thought I thought something happened to you.
No.
So anyway, I'm at this yard sale.
I was triggered.
By yard sale?
Yeah, always. It's a dangerous place.
Well, anyway, this neighbor was selling all of these books, and it came across Dark Tower. Now, I was a kid. I was not quite... I think I was just starting to read.
Not a girl yet. Not yet a woman.
You know, do you want to fucking run this show?
Who doesn't like a Britney Spears reference?
So anyway, the books were illustrated. And so I couldn't, really read yet, but I fell in love with these pictures, and I was dying to know what the story was. And Dark Tower was actually kind of a big reason of why I wanted to learn to read, and kind of was the kind of spark under me to really read so I could know what the hell was going on. So my dad got them for me, but I knew that even if I could read, they're a little... I guess I wasn't old enough for them yet, but I kind of grew up trying to, knit these pictures together about what the story was about. And so I think kind of growing up, it was always this mystery, what was up with this tower and this cowboy. And I don't think I ever really took an official crack at it until probably, I don't know, maybe I don't know. I was old enough. I came across the books, oh yeah, we really love to read these. And so I think that's sort of my introduction to the series and why I kind of have a little soft spot in my heart for it. I just thought it was really cool because, again, I said this before in previous episodes, it's like Lord of the Rings and Westworld, smashed together. I love the setting of the Wild West with magic, and you don't know what the hell's going on. And I am really excited, for better or worse, to talk about The Gunslinger. Because Stephen King, I mean, he's huge. The dude's a legend, whether you're a fan of the writing or not. And a lot of people don't really know about the Dark Tower, and that's what he considers his to be his magnum opus. So I haven't really talked to a lot of people who have read Dark Tower. Two people, I can think of two people: our friend Katie and Mason, who's been on the show a couple of times.
Well, Taylor Swift's a huge fan too.
Supposedly, yeah.
I know you and her go way back.
We do. We haven't talked in a while, but yeah. So yeah, so I'm gonna open the floor to just kind of dive in on just this crazy weird book that like kind of jumpstarts this 8-volume quest. Yeah, it's massive. It's massive and it's weird.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, reading this for the first time, to know that this is like one of your like earliest novel memories is like kind of like
terrifying.
Yeah, you kind of like jumped into the deep end there.
Yeah.
I was like reading like Bridge of Terabithia and like
Yeah, I
other
think
things.
the first book I read was like Roald Dahl,
right
something.
James the Giant Peach,
I was reading like Bunnicula and like
Captain
No.
Underpants.
Yeah, my dad's like, you're too old. When you're 9, you can read these.
But yeah, I personally I love it. I think it's really cool. There were some like, you know, interesting choices that they made, but I have to also, like I've mentioned before, I have to kind of like read this with I'm reading this with a more progressive lens of 2021. So like when this was written, obviously people didn't bat an eye or else it would have been edited out already. So you know, you just kind of have to like accept things at some point. But
yeah, I think he officially started writing this like in the 70s because this started off as, it wasn't even a novel. It was a series of publications in sci-fi magazines. So I think
cool.
which
is why the pacing is the way that it
and
is.
so each chapter was like an entry, you know. And I think a lot of this in the beginning was, I think, as Chandler introduced me to the concept exploratory writing, because it definitely kind of has that feeling of making it up as you go. But yeah.
I like I will say like stylistically I think it's really cool. I guess you might have issues with the pacing, but I thought it was kind of cool. I like there's like kind of like 5 big chapters, but like there's like these sub chapters and like some of them are only like 1 line long. That was kind of like it's kind of like a quirky kind of stylish choice, which I thought was kind of cool. Yeah, I mean I don't really know where to start. Like
Yeah, I think, well, I think one thing that always comes up when talking about the Dark Tower is the first sentence. Like people the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. Like I just know so many people who were like just in love with that sentence. Like what a cool way to start a series. And I know that's something that kind of comes up when I talk, and when I talk I mean I just read other people's comments on Reddit.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I think last episode, Rob, I'd asked you, because Chandler hadn't finished it yet, but I asked you kind of initial thoughts, no spoilers, and I believe you phrased it, I like the world building.
Yeah, I like the world it built.
Yeah.
Or is building.
Yeah. It's a place.
It's a place.
So, yeah, a lot of the world building stuff I found interesting. The setting is really cool, like this big, vast desert where there's like hints of like, is it the future? Is it a weird, who knows what's its world?
Yeah.
Right. And then there's like, yeah, like the gunslinger grows up in a weird, like, it seems like almost like a Middle Ages setting, but they have guns, and then when you meet Jake, he's just like from New York, and there's like, so there's this stuff that's like, the world building is really interesting to me, and like that type of like multiverse, time, different stuff is really interesting to me. And the character of the gunslinger I found kind of interesting. But like Chandler said, there's some choices and there's some off-putting stuff throughout.
Yeah. There's something that we'll get into that I kind of missed for obvious reasons, I think, in reading it at the time that I did. And then in reading it with Angela, it's like, oh my God, I must have blocked this out. So, that's why there's a certain point where I was like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I did this to all of you.
But at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I would continue with this series because I think a lot of the stuff that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, kind of like what Chandler was saying, it struck me as just like the very beginning of a book series written by a young author. And I would like to think that Stephen King, as he matured, the books, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the books don't, but like maybe the books kind of grow with him and stuff like that. Because it almost, some of the stuff, it seemed like he was trying to be like an edgelord and like come off as like edgy.
Yeah.
Well, from what I've been gathering from like the internets, it sounds like book 2, 3, and 4 are where it's at. Like that's like where the meat of like why people are so obsessed with the series. And so I'm definitely open to that and to doing that.
Yeah, I remember Wizard and Glass being like, I remember it's like I think it's like the biggest volume of the series, and I remember just like being like, oh my god, that was so good. But Gunslinger, I feel like is like a weird introduction. Like I feel like you could, I don't know, some Dark Tower fans might hate me for saying this, but I almost kind of feel like you could skip book 1 and just go into book 2. Like I feel like book 1 is very much finding your feet and you know, just kind of figuring like, okay, like what, like it's like I like the idea of this guy in the Wild West chasing the wizard. Why is he chasing the wizard? I don't know. There should be a tower. Why? I don't know. It sounds really cool.
It's kind of like painting the background, but like not actually putting anything in the front.
Or it's almost like an issue 0 in a comic book.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I know a lot of it too was inspired by a Robert Browning poem called "Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came," and it's about like a knight seeking a tower at the end of a quest. So I think with the combination of that and Lord of the Rings, I think he like kind of wanted to like, I want to make an epic. I don't know how. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to write and see what happens. So, but certain points are really cringy, and it's just, it sucks. Because to love something so much and kind of have the origins that it did for me, especially as kind of being a doorway to stories, it's tough to be like, oh God, what does it say about me as a person that like this is my foundation?
Honestly, I think that I feel bad because I had such a visceral reaction to this, and you being like the number one fan, and like I mean, Dark Tower has been such a prominent part of your like life and identity. Like I think, you know, even when we were still just buddies, and like you have always talked about how great the Dark Tower was, and I was always just like, you know, I had a mini Stephen King phase when I was younger, but I noped out of that eventually. I mean, Carrie still being, I think, one of my favorite stories that he's ever. Well, no, Carrie is my favorite. Next would be The Shining. But Carrie is number one. I mean, that's the film is like something that I watch annually. It's so crucial and so important to my identity. And yeah, I think that stories can be that way for people. Like we can totally connect ourselves to these things, and but I was just like, you know what, I'm not, you know, everybody wanted me to read The Stand. That wasn't gonna fucking happen. So I mean, people want me to read Dark Tower. That's probably not gonna fucking happen either. But I love you, and it's like, okay, let's do this. Let's try this out. And this is our second time going through it, the Gunslinger, because I feel like 2 summers ago we did the Audible, and it was okay. Like I was like, okay, I wasn't wowed, but there are some edits that he did in this version that I was like, I don't remember that being in the I mean, the prime thing that, I mean, I'm just gonna dive right in, is the gun in the vagina rape scene that I was like, that wasn't in the first version I heard, because I don't think I would have blanked that out. But then again, I could have, because, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it was funny, like preparing for this episode. I was like, oh, I really should have gone through and like put little post-its for the excerpts that like really hit me the hardest. And then I was like, I don't have to do that. I just need to go on Reddit, men writing women, and type in Gunslinger. And look, they were all there. So it was like, oh, if I need to reference anything, it's all here. People have already done it for me, because it was like, and I'm not trying to say this just to be like a naysayer and just to shit on it. I'm really not. Like, I can accept and respect the fact that I'm not the demographic for a specific story. Like I'm a brown woman. I'm rarely the demographic for anything. But I do, that hasn't stopped me from enjoying and consuming a lot of media. Like I love Westerns. I love sci-fi.
Yeah.
I love fucking bitches in chainmail bikinis. Like I am all about camp and the fun of like campy storytelling, and so there's a level that I can totally like buy into, but I feel like this gave me just huge stop signs at every single turn, like down to the point when I wanted to enjoy the world building, I couldn't, because as a person who is such a huge fan of Westerns and like the Man with No Name series, in particular the Italian spaghetti Westerns, like oh my God, like those movies like changed my life and made me love film the way that I do today. And like seeing that inspiration and like none of its essence was just like, why? I felt like it was like almost mean not to have those references. And every single female character, like every single one, was basically just mentioned in like how their fuckability was. And even like the children, like it was all like, I mean, even like when he spoilers, when he's like shooting people in the town, the way he describes killing the men versus the way he describes killing the women, the women get shoot backward and fall into a whorish sprawl. Like why couldn't we just fall down? Why can't we like just spit up blood? Like no, whorish sprawl, legs open,
you die
skirt
with no
bunched
dignity.
up. Like I mean, even when we are first introduced to Roland's mother, it's in the it's in the context of, it's like, oh, my dad came home and he needed to fuck. Like, whoa. Like, how do you, who first of all thinks about their parents in that way? I mean, I don't know. You guys, you know, you are men with dads. you are all men with dads. Did you conceptualize your parents' relationship in that manner?
Never.
As children? No. He clearly needs to fuck.
No, I was an Amazon Prime Day special. My parents bought me.
But yeah, that kind of the sexuality of this book is very strange and very mean, like you were saying, especially towards the women, and then just weird. Like that's every time it came up, that's the stuff that kind of put me off. And I felt like an edgelord, like a 12-year-old on the internet being like, and then he did this to her. But and that's the stuff that I had to like kind of move past to like enjoy the greater world that it was building.
It was just hard, I think, but the one positive that I am going to give this is I think Paul and I had a blast, like, laughing at the absurdity. Like, the whole, what was the guy's name? The farmer?
Oh, Kinnerly.
With his daughter.
Like, Subi is a staple in our life now. Like, we will be talking to each other and just break off like, God damn it, Subi, get your whore ass back in the house.
I swear to God, I'll wail you.
Yeah. I love, what was it when Roland walks by, she like pinches her nipple and like winks.
That's like just like a greeting now. It's like, you know, like, hey, how you doing? You know?
And we were saying Kinnerly, like being like, damn it, stop pinching your nip and I won't pitch a fit.
Subi, or like, Subi, God damn it, get in that fucking house and grab your sisters, Subi 4 and Subi 9, and take them into the house.
Oh, God.
She's got a devil in her.
Subi and the nipple pinching was, I think, the greatest thing.
Emblazoned into your memory.
Or the way he described Roland's lovemaking to Allie was amazing, because it was like
a man.
like what it's like. I want to be in his brain, because it's like, in what universe is a woman like, oh, you know what I need? I need a man to make love to me with silent, like, stoicism. Like, I need them to be stoic and silent. That is the hottest thing ever. Like,
Pretend you want to be somewhere else.
Like,
anywhere else than doing this.
Like, stoic and silent. And it was just like, you know, if that were me, if I were Miss Allie, I would, you know, assume like, oh, he's gonna kill me. Mm-hmm. This is gonna end with my murder. Mm-hmm. Like this.
Yeah, Jake knew that right away. But
oh no, yeah, Jake did know. Jake did know, and he didn't need stoic lovemaking to get that point across.
I was just imagining like a lot, like you know, like Roland, ain't you gonna come? Like, what do you want me to do? Like minutes later, I'm a tower. I'm a tower. You love towers. Keep fucking me. I'm the tower. He's like, oh, he's like obsessed
Disturbing.
with.
No, just the silent, like, oh god, just that, like, oh, gross. Like,
yeah, Rob's right. I mean, and so are you. That like anytime. It's like, oh, I'm enjoying this, and then sex gets involved, and it's like, god damn it, really?
When we are first introduced to Jake, even. He described Jake as having a pretty mouth, and that
like pretty
like,
lips or something.
I had some.
You caught that too.
Yeah, I have a whole thing of highlights here.
Yes, give us a couple of your favorites, Chandler.
Let's see.
just scroll and pick one.
Let's see. Are you satisfied? No, not yet. And he rolled on top of her.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that. When he's asking her for information.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, here's horse sprawl. I highlighted that too.
Horse sprawl.
Let's see. In the daylight, he was an amazing figure with his scrawny, sunburnt chest, pencil-like collarbones, and a loony shock of red hair.
Oh, is that Brown?
Yeah.
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 With Zoltan the bird.
MVP.
Beans, the musical
Fruit.
Musical fruit. Yes, this is fucking poetry.
I did read the excerpt when he's describing the woman who's like in the parish, the
oh yeah, Sylvia Pittston.
Yeah, when he's describing her, I actually read this to my mother. And my mom's reaction was priceless. But the description is this: no description could take the measure of the woman's breasts like earthworks. A huge pillar of a neck overtopped by a pasty white moon of a face in which blinked eyes so large and so dark that they seemed to be bottomless tarns. Her hair was a beautiful rich brown, and it was piled atop her head in a haphazard sprawl, held by a hairpin almost big enough to be a meat skewer. She wore a dress that seemed to be made of burlap. The arms that held the hymnal were slabs. Her skin was creamy, unmarked, lovely. He thought that she must top 300 pounds. He felt a sudden red lust for her that made him feel shaky, and he turned his head and looked away. And my mother was just like, well, that wasn't very flattering.
I remember reading that and at the end being like, I have no idea what this person looks like.
It's like a full moon and thick.
In my mind, she was the mom from What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Like, that's all I saw in my head.
The tall lady from Resident Evil, the new game.
Yeah, that's what I pictured too, just because that was like fresh in my mind. Once he said she tops 300 pounds, I was like, oh, that went a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I have the Jake stuff here.
But yet he lust for her. The red hot lust.
I have the boy's pretty lips curved into a solemn little smile. The boy was well made, handsome, perhaps 10 or 11. He made a fine straight figure. The desert had not sapped him. What's the other one?
I just think sap means dehydrated.
The amazing boy
is what I tell myself.
But he liked the boy. He liked him a great deal. Nice looking boy. It occurred to him later that this is when he began to love the boy.
Yeah, it's weird.
So my identity comes into question.
It gets weird.
This book is clearly just like setting up something. It's like they said, it's written weirdly. it's just like a very big first chapter of something, and there's some really cool stuff in it. But yeah, if you completely removed anything sexual from this, it would definitely increase the quality of it.
Oh, totally.
By a substantial
and
amount.
I think like even with like the way he's describing like Jake, I think it's more of kind of like he's trying to go for more of a purple prosy kind of like romanticized description, even though it kind of comes off weird.
But when it's in the same sentence,
if he had if he had utilized that level of like gentle affection, in a healthy way, it wouldn't, I don't think, have come off so rapey.
Jake,
It was weird. And like the whole book is so centralized around like masculinity and like legacy and a father's relationship with his son and, you know, what it means to be a man and how like any sign of vulnerability was just like
beaten out of you.
I mean, like even when they were at like the banquet and the his like little flashback and talking about like only he's like the gunslingers didn't dance, only a few, the young ones. It's like
the light and the loafer ones,
the gay ones. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. It was really weird. I was like, you have things you need to work through, sir. And I don't think any of us should have to take the brunt of that, because that's what I feel like is happening. I feel like you are taking your insecurities with your masculinity out on me, and I don't like it. Yeah. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of the horror like magic parts. Like
it was pretty good.
The one that like freaked me the hell out was when Roland was in the basement at the way station and like he was like looking for cans of food and then like some like fucking demon burrowed underground to him. He was like telling a prophecy and like groaning and shit. I'm like, I would have died on the spot.
Yeah.
And then he had to like
to take its fucking jawbone.
Right. I'm like, and you had to go inside and like reach his hand inside there where it could have gotten like bitten off or something. I was like, I can't do this.
And they already prefaced that with fucking mutant spiders. I'm like, cool. Yeah. This is a
nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is something about like the language of this that it's like, I get you're trying to like portray this like rough, raw realism, but like when Jake was kind of remembering or in his trance remembering how he died, he was like I was like, he was like bleeding from his mouth and he's like, I could taste my own shit. And it's like, Jesus.
Like, yeah, that scene was really scary too when he died and like got ran over by the car. That was like super graphic.
That was very, very unsettling.
I was like, jeez.
That was wild.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't think I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that like a 10-year-old or 11-year-old wouldn't dying and the shock of like being hit would be like, I could taste my own shit. Like, oh my God. Like,
I mean, who knows? Your body just went through a tremendous shock, and you know,
his dialogue's a little weird. His dialogue does feel like a little bit older than he should be.
Yeah. Well, I think what always kind of scared me was the Man in Black and how easily it seems like he slips from one world to the next, like, and how he's like kind of the only one who has any idea of what the fuck is going on, you know. And it's weird that like, you know, it's like, okay, we had this weird twist where there's this kid from New York. And, like, the Man in Black, like, made it a point to, like, bring him here. And it's like, why Jake? Like, why that New York? It's like, you know, it's like, I mean, but again, I love the questions and not the answer. I think I'm just a glutton for punishment and not knowing stuff.
Yeah, I
just like, it shouldn't work this way, but it is. I mean, like,
well, like I was going back to what I was saying with not being the demographic. It's like when you're not, it's like it's kind of hard to hang on to that because there's nothing. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, it was like somebody laying out breadcrumbs, but they're moldy, and it's like, I'm good. Like I don't need to follow that trail. Like, or just like a trail of stained socks, and you're like, I'm good. I don't need that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, it's kind of hard to pinpoint what it is about all of these things that, like, despite all of, like, these nasty, like, kind of hiccups that still kind of, I left my heart in Midworld. You know, like I still like kind of have like this like fondness for. I think just with like I love how it's a fantasy and not in the way that we all have come to know fantasy, like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. And I like that with the Western setting, like it feels long ago, but not so long ago. Like my grandmother remembers seeing Civil War veterans in like the hometown parade, you know, and so and it kind of has like the you know that Civil War-ish like, you know, feel era to it. So it's almost kind of feel like it's distant, but I'm not that far removed from it. So it makes it seem like the magic is more palpable and the terror is not as far as I want it to be. And especially when there are these so many like contradictions of you know, the like the Chev, the you know the piano player, you know, playing Hey Jude. It's like, wait, that doesn't belong here, you know. And yeah, and like the Man in Black bringing Nort back to life, like that shit freaked me out. And I loved, and when I say love, I mean bear with me, but when the Man in Black plants that trap for her, like say the number 19, he will tell you everything that you'll want to know about the afterlife, but it's gonna fucking drive you crazy, and it's like it's just gonna like unravel your brain, and like the not asking is also going to like drive you insane. You know, like just yeah, I don't know.
I like this. It's a good horror suspense kind of thing. I like that.
Yeah, the horror fantasy. And I know that what I think always strikes me is how many Dark Tower fans that are out there working in Hollywood. Because, you know, as I mentioned at the start of the episode, this is kind of like King's Multiverse. So many stories and books and novels tie into the Dark Tower. The Stand, you know, there's just like there's Insomnia, like there's so many big King stories that have direct connections to the Dark Tower, and I love when creators kind of, I don't want to say force, but when they make their own Dark Tower connections, like they're like Mike Flanagan, you know, who did The Haunting of Hill House, he did the Doctor Sleep adaptation. There's quite a few Dark Tower references in Doctor Sleep. When Frank Darabont did The Mist, the opening scene is when the main character he's like a painter. He does movie posters. The opening scene is he's painting a picture of Roland by the tower. Oh, wow. You know, like there are all these creators out there who like work within, you know, Stephen King's, you know, when they adapt Stephen King's things, like I'm just gonna force this in there because, you know, why not? It's because it's all kind of under King's umbrella.
And I
anyway.
do love interconnected like universes. Yeah. I love it when things are like that, and like everything's a little Easter egg for something else. I love shit like that.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, because I think that's what also kind of, because when I was really getting into Dark Tower, there's also when I was really getting into comic book reading, and so I just lived for Easter eggs and connections, and like the main villain of the Dark Tower series is the Crimson King, who they talk about the Crimson King.
Like
they do, but briefly.
Yeah. Like she, like I think
they haven't really named him in the end, but there was like a earlier reference to the Crimson King.
Yeah, but the preacher there, she said that like
she's pregnant.
The pregnant with the Crimson King.
Well, the Crimson King, his first appearance was in a book called Insomnia, and where he appears to the main protagonist, and he's like a shapeshifter and can take on things that you love and things that you fear, and he makes a comment about shapeshifting and how I'm aware it's a time-honored tradition in Derry, and it's like, oh, what was in Derry? Pennywise. What was he? A fucking shapeshifter who knew what scared the shit out of you. And apparently Pennywise and the Crimson King are either A, part of the same species, or might in actuality there's a theory where they're one and the same. So I mean, I'm just a sucker for shit like that. Like you could like,
I do like enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean you could say like, oh, did you know like that shit you took on the 19th is a connection to the Dark Tower? And I'd be like, oh my god, it was the 19th. It's all connected. All things serve the beam.
I think things like that are very fascinating and interesting and fun to unravel. Like, I mean, it's one of the main things that I love the most about Steven Universe was like all the little like everything was connected, and it was just like it's almost like I get to be a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I still like love the Game of Thrones books, not so much the show.
Yeah.
But the books, I mean, and that's something that I would like to definitely offer up to future book clubs episodes is that, because I feel like the Game of Thrones is such a great example of how like writing about boring shit can seem so like fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so I don't know.
No, that just made me think of how, like, loving the books, hating the adaptation.
Yeah.
Because we also had that Dark Tower movie back, I was like 2016, 2017. And that was rough. As, like, being a fan as long as I had been. First of all, when they said that, like, it wasn't going to be a straight up adaptation, that it was like a sequel. So if you say there's like 8 books, this was supposed to be like the 9th entry.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I, on the one hand, I get it because it kind of gives them a pass. Well, it's not a direct adaptation, so it gives them some wiggle room. But
sounds like a terrible way to get people interested that haven't read the books.
It's hard to explain the concept without blowing the ending of the entire series.
Yeah, so we won't.
But I was so excited because, I mean, Idris Elba was going to play Roland. Now, while Roland is white in the book, I was excited about Idris Elba being Roland. You had Matthew McConaughey as the Man in Black. You know, I thought the first trailer looked pretty cool, and then
Now, can I give the spoiler of who the Man in Black is?
I don't. Yeah. Oh, like in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. So, if you are familiar with The Stand, the Man in Black was Randall Flagg.
I'm not familiar with The Stand, but
Okay, so that
I knew that was. I had heard that years ago because I have read like half of The Stand. I think I've read enough of it to hear that there was a guy that was bad. I don't remember, but I did know that.
guy
I knew
was
that they were
Randall
like
Flagg, yeah.
directly connected.
Yeah, so he was the Man in Black, and so with he signs the letters with like a happy face and like the smiley face. And,
Yeah. There's actually one point in the series where it takes place in a part of the world that's been infected by Captain Trips.
that'll be fun.
Yeah. So, but the second book, I think is like when it really kicks off, because that's, because the book ends with Walter, the Man in Black, kind of telling him how that like he's going to be invested with this power of the drawing. He talks about like like the prisoner and like the Lady of Shadows, like those are all people that are like he's going to kind of summon to be a part of his fellowship, which in the book is called a quartet. But and so it's great because I feel like a lot of kind of like I think the movie kind of borrowed from the second book, because it's a lot of it is in like New York, so it kind of like switches a bit where it's not so much in King's Fantasy Desert, and you just kind of get a bit more world building. I mean, and it definitely kind of just progresses as it goes.
Is there like a reading order? Because so I read The Stand first before like the
No, you don't have to read it.
No,
The Stand's really long, and it's just not. And the ending is just kind of like, it's just not. Just watch any of the miniseries, you'll get the gist.
Okay.
Yeah, but as far as like the core Dark Tower books, there's definitely there's an order to that. But otherwise, things around it I think aren't really too essential to the order. And if you do read things out of order, just remember time's weird here. So
yeah, true.
I will say though, I am anticipating reading the second book. I do want to read the second book and kind of see what the hype's about, because I'm not seeing it now, so it's like I'll definitely keep going. I've read I read Twilight. I read the first 4 books of the Suki Stackhouse series that inspired True Blood. So I definitely can like commit to something like long enough to be like, okay, to give it a chance, and if it really like throws me for a loop, like, or if it just like is just too bad, like I'll know about. But it wasn't until like the final Twilight book that I was like, what have I done? But I mean, because I will invest my time.
One thing I got to say though about this book that I really loved, that I found myself, when you have those great moments where you forget you're reading a book or you're watching a movie, that you're just fucking there, you were transported. for me was when he challenges Court.
Oh, yeah, that was a really cool scene.
That whole bit, I was like gone. Like I was like when I read that, because it was just like, you know, he's like 2 years too young to be doing this, and he fucking, I don't know, when he has
him and his bird.
That was
making
dope.
it work.
and I loved it because I loved earlier in the book where he talks about, you know, because at one point when, you know, David like tears out his arm and Court's like, you know, like the bird's not going to listen to you, like it's not your friend, you know, the hawk is God's gunslinger. I fucking love that. I just thought it's such a cool line. And so when he was like, oh, what's your weapon? And he has the bird, and Court's like, this fucking dumbass. And then that bird, like when he's like, David, attack, and like the bird actually responds to his command, and the bird like fucks Court up, gave me life. And then especially when Court's like, how did you train him? And he's like, I didn't. I befriended him. And I don't know. Maybe that's toxic masculinity, but like I don't know. I loved it. Like I didn't train him. I befriended him. Also, just imagine being like, attack.
Also,
That's
Court's
not
an asshole and deserved it.
Yeah.
Court's an asshole, but I don't think that. I think I just befriended him. I don't think that's toxic masculinity. I think the idea of friendship is what's toxic in that scenario.
Yeah.
Because you know, friendship is you know what? Friendship is powerful.
Yeah.
And if anybody's watched any episode of Sailor Moon, you'll know that the power of friendship can do anything.
Which is what Roland comes to learn as the series goes.
I'll believe it when I see it.
So let's talk about Jake for a bit, because that whole, I understood what he was there for, but like you mentioned,
I did not.
I get that the whole time he's just like, I'm gonna have to kill this kid, and the kid's like, don't kill me, and then he's like, I won't, but then he's like, I'm gonna have to kill this kid, and I'm like,
But did he though? But he didn't really, because the kid just fell.
Yeah, I was gonna say at the end. So that whole scene, when I was reading it, I was probably like half delirious, but in my head, I just pictured them on the mine car level of Donkey Kong Country, where they're like going through like the railroads underground, and then he just like turns back and Jake just falls.
That's pretty much what I saw.
I remember reading it, and then he's I forget what the wording was, but I just remember Jake falling and dying, and I was just like, huh. That was it.
Yeah, he was like, "Go on, then. There's other worlds beyond this." And then he like falls.
Yeah.
He falls without screaming, which I thought was like
Was
really
he
disturbing.
like using Jake to like just test the?
Yeah, he's just like a puppet.
tracks?
Yeah, he's just a puppet. No, not the cracks.
That's very anticlimactic. I feel like because I thought he was gonna be like have to like I thought it was gonna be more of like a sacrificial lamb, just not in such a like anticlimactic way. It's like, oh, just make sure I'm, you know, this can hold my weight.
No.
Well, the point is when Jake was dangling there, Roland had to make a choice to save him or not, and he.
Yeah, if he saved him, then he would
like,
lost the Man in Black forever. But if he chose Man in Black, then Jake would have to die.
So it was kind of like he's there like hanging. It's like, and that's why
I did not read it as that. I literally read it being like, peace, bitch.
Yeah, it's like the whole journey.
Like, I was
the whole
like,
journey
that
is
was
like him getting like
pointless.
super attached to Jake because he knew like that was going to happen. The Man in Black did.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why he's like, you know, like time's ticking, gunslinger. Like catch me now or catch me never. You know, like time's up. And then finally, you know, then finally Jake's like, go then. There are other worlds than these. He's like, you ain't gonna pick me, bitch. I ain't picking you.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yeah, the Jake stuff for me, just I never understood as soon as he was just like, he's got pretty mouth and I love him, I was just like, that happened real fast.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I'm gonna tie to this tree and go have sex with a spirit woman or something. Like,
have your way with me, bitch.
Yeah.
I interpret it as like just like Jake is just like reminding.
Wait, was that the star slut line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
The succubus.
Yeah.
of
There,
speaking,
I do have to give this shout out. It was definitely a person who put it on Men Writing Women, and it gave me life. But
Excuse me.
oh, I'm trying to pull it up now. Oh yeah, Al Lanologies on Reddit posted that sequence and being like, what do they call you then, star slut, whore of the winds? And she goes, my friends call me star slut, but you, sir, to you, sir, I am whore of the winds. And I like want to say that to people.
Yeah.
I think Star Slut is kind of like I would wear that on like my shirt. On my boobs when I pinch my nipples and wink at strangers.
It sounds like an all-girl punk rock band.
Star Slut.
Let's do it, Angela.
But like again, it brings me back to the weird sexuality of this book, because isn't it like he like steps within that circle and he's like, my loins started tingling all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I gotta step back, and we're just like, why does everything gotta be about his loins tingling? Like,
and then he has mescaline.
Yeah,
remember that?
Oh yeah, where the fuck did he get mescaline?
I was like, wow, I don't remember.
This will keep me awake.
I was like, what fucking pharmacy did you stop at in the post-apocalyptic wasteland?
I feel like King did mescaline at some point and just wanted to like write about it.
I think he did it all.
I was like, okay, that's weird.
But yeah, I just remember, and then he like stumbles back after banging that Star Slut, and Jake's like tied there holding that demon jaw, and he's like, you're a dick, and he's like, I'm gonna go to bed.
My dick hurts.
all that silent and stoic lovemaking.
The safe word is Shelby. Or Subi. I don't know why I keep calling her Shelby.
Subi. God damn it, Subi.
God, Subi Dooby.
Good God damn it, Subi. You goddamn bitch.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, I
liked it.
I said, I was intrigued.
We're bonding.
I finished the book.
Yeah, and that's a big thing because Rob's a dad now. He ain't got time for that shit.
Yeah. Although I have read more books in the past year than I have my entire life combined, probably. But
can you like let me try to like do this for you?
I have a very hard time finishing books that don't like really hold my attention. But like the world building, like there's these like peak like moments in the book where it's like, ooh, that's interesting. I'm in. Let's keep going. Yeah. And then I thought the ending of the book was really like intriguing, like interesting, and kind of set up the next one.
I did not.
See, I loved it. Even when we just read it, I loved like the whole info dump about like, like size and how, like what if we were on a blade of grass and the grass was cut? Like, is that why the world's dying and the world's moving on because this blade of grass is shriveling up? Like the whole like perspective of, time and the size of things, I just
like you just talking about it right now, it's already making me go into like screensaver mode.
Yeah, okay.
Like I just couldn't, like I was like, this is just an info dump, and then it ends with him going to the beach just being like, nothing happened. Like
well, he's 10 years older.
Yeah, I'm 10 years older and I'm at the beach, and yet nothing happened. Like, it's just...
Well, he got a lot of prophecy going on, so he's got to...
I don't know. But then he was like, it could have all been lies. Like, where's the weight of anything if you're just like, it could be real, it could be fake. Let's go to the beach and find out. But wait, why are we going to the beach? I don't know. Well, like,
he's got to go for the drawing.
Has it been 10 years? Or is he just 10 years older? Like, what's happening?
I don't know.
Where's Subi?
Pinching her nipples somewhere.
Is she one of the
pinching her,
like 800
pinching her
people
nipples
he shot
in the
in that
afterlife? Yeah, she did get shot.
Oh yeah, they all dead.
They all dead, but she's pinching her nipples in heaven.
In whore heaven.
In whore heaven, with her whore mom and her whore stepmom.
Well,
all star
the Gunslinger's mom's kind of sleeping around too, right? Doesn't he call his dad a cuck?
Yes, he does call the dad a cuck, and then like, but the guy that she's sleeping with, she beats her, and I'm like, okay, how's that a thing? But then later the Men in Black was like, oh, I was that guy.
I know.
And I was the monk, and I was that guy.
Right.
And like, she bent to my will, but I couldn't break her. And it's like, is that supposed to mean something? Because you beat the shit out of her.
Well, so
I don't know what that.
Which was intentional because
you fucked her and you hit her. That's
well, because so he calls Roland into the room like, oh, your mom wants to talk to you, and that was like a setup for him to show that like, I'm like, going back to like legacy is like, I'm undoing everything that your father's doing. Because the plan was he was going to piss off Roland, prompting Roland to take his test 2 years earlier than he was supposed to. Roland was supposed to fail then be exiled and not stand in the way of the revolution or getting in his way of the tower. But he passed the test, and Walter was like,
do you find
fuck.
that out in the later books?
No.
You were supposed to piece that together in this?
I mean, it gets expanded on later on,
Okay.
but it makes sense though, because they talk about, like, you know, because even Court says, like, I'm not supposed to say this because you're challenging me, but fucking wait, because I don't want to exile you. And they talk about that early on, like in like those first lessons with Cuthbert and Roland when they're at the training, is that, like, you know, when you come of age and you pass this test, one or two things can happen: you pass, or you get exiled, and you can't inherit your father's guns. You can't go on and be this knight of the realm, you know. So it's like, so when Walter's like, or, you know, when the Man in Black says, like, yeah, that was me, it's like, oh, okay, so this was all calculated. This was all, you know, like a plan. Huh?
I said poorly.
Well, if you think about it, I don't think anybody expected for him to bring a fucking hawk to a gunfight or a you know,
a blunt
sword
object fight.
Yeah, so I think
that's just the whole, like, dealing with your emotions in an unhealthy way, and yet it worked out for him, so he really didn't learn a lesson there.
no, but the whole point wasn't for him to learn a lesson. Like, Walter wanted to get him out of the way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And because he riled him up to go challenge Court. But why did he get riled up in the first place was because he was mad at Martin. So why didn't he take that rage and aggression out on Martin? Instead, he was like, oh, I'm going to channel it.
Because when he passes the test, then he gets his guns and he can kill Walter.
Okay. Walter.
Yeah, exactly. They're
whatever.
the same person. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the point.
Got it. And that's
Yeah.
why the guy was like, wait. Before passing out, and then waking up again, and then passing out.
Yeah, because he was just saying, like, you're way too young. Like even in succeeding, like, you're
No,
way
I mean
too...
at the end when he did it, and he was like, "Give me the key," because he wanted the guns.
Right. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, even though you've succeeded, you were, like, too young. You're too young for this power. Even though, like, you've won it fair and square, you were way too young to be wielding, you know, life and death like this. So, anyway. That's all he wrote. No, he didn't. He wrote 8 more books. But, yeah, and then, yeah.
I don't think the writing of the female characters is going to get much better, but I'm hoping it gets a little bit better.
You know what?
Because I did get an early excerpt from Men Writing Women, and it was from a later book when he was describing a character named Susanna. And Dark Tower. Here you go. I'm pulling it up. Where it's a pretty simple thing. It's just one sentence. For the first time in her life as a woman, she was completely speechless.
Oh God. Yeah. Let's not. Let's not. I'll just throw away my books and we'll never talk about it again.
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean, fuck. Like, that's a dig. But, like, yeah, I was like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see how it is, Steven.
Yeah,
the
with the
shade.
tarot. We'll just call it a day.
No, I do want to read the next book. So whether it's like our next book club or not, like...
Well, we should, I think, definitely talk about, like, what we want to tackle next. I mean, I do love the idea, because we're always talking about books and comic books and movies, so I think it's cool that we talked about this. And it's kind of cool because, you know, because Dark Tower eventually did get adapted into a Marvel comic series.
It did, and it was the Marvel comic series that I picked up first.
Me too.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of Gunslinger and Wizard and Glass. Like, that whole test with Court is, you know, in it.
I loved the art. I thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah, Jay Lee.
Mm-hmm. So creepy.
But in terms of future books that we could do, I mean, I know there's like a lot of big epics and series. I think Dune is something that I would be willing to check out because it's got such a huge following and everybody and their mom fucking loves Dune. Well, no, that's not true. I haven't heard anybody's mom love Dune. But
I'm like 12 hours into that audiobook right now.
Oh, one thing I wanted to say there, man, that this is totally self-serving, but I'm just gonna say it. I was talking to a buddy of mine at work. I was calling out to another department, and my buddy Jordan, and you know, he was helping me solve this problem, and he goes, "Oh wait, before you go, I know this is gonna sound weird, but I started reading Dune, and the main character's name is Paul, and now I can't not like you're Paul in the book. Like I see
But
you
isn't
as
Paul
this
like
character.
15?
Yeah, well, I look 15 with dirt on my face.
He's the. Oh man, I haven't listened to that in like a month. I already forgot the name.
Paul Atreides.
Yeah.
I mean,
The-
Paul. My Paul started reading it to me, and I was falling asleep.
It is
Yeah.
very dense
Yes.
because it's like all
Remember-
made up things, and I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
god, I can't read this before I go to bed.
Well, because there's a bit where like this witch was watching Paul sleep, and Aaron's like half asleep. I didn't know I was in this.
I love that scene in that book though, where he has to stick his hand into that thing.
Yeah.
That
But anyway,
Put your hand in my box. I didn't know I was in this.
yeah, it was. I said somebody's stupid name, and I said it wrong.
Yeah, it was
It
hilarious.
was
I can't
dumb.
remember now.
I don't remember, but so that's something I wouldn't mind picking up. I would love if we did Wheel of Time.
Ooh.
The Wheel of Time series would be really fun.
Anything by Neil Gaiman, I support.
I have never read a Neil Gaiman book.
Oh, dude, he's like my favorite writer.
I think a good one is just like the Ocean at the End of the Lane. I think
That
I'd
was
like
a
to
good one.
recommend
It's
the
a short.
Third Law trilogy.
The Third Law trilogy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fancy. Dave from Sugar Daddies recommended it to me.
Sugar Daddies.
So
Dude, and Dave, I got
He has
to
great
add a name
taste.
to the list. Dave is also a huge fucking Dark Tower fan.
Huge fan.
Like, he and I talk about Dark Tower all the time on Instagram, which is where all your best friends meet up and chat. Instagram. But yeah, he's somebody else I probably should add the name to that list, because yeah, he's huge Dark
Yeah,
Tower
right
fan.
after Taylor Swift.
Right after Taylor Swift.
Well, if you do something like Dune, it's going to take a long time for us to all get through it.
That's
Multiple
true.
parts.
So
Yeah.
we can start. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and that was my big pitch with Gunslinger. I'm like, it's short.
It's true.
You'll
Maybe
get
that
through
could be
it,
the
but-
requirement. Try to set like a length. Like,
Yeah, or at least in the beginning until we get our kind of groove worked out. But I mean, that's why like Ocean at the End of the Lane is like a
It's just
novella.
yeah,
that's
that's
pretty
only like
short.
150
You read it
pages
in
or something, right?
Yeah, you read
It's
it in an
super short.
afternoon. It's super short, and it's
Yeah.
just delightful.
Or like Stardust by Neil Gaiman.
Ooh, I wouldn't
that's-
mind reading Stardust.
Stardust is a good. That's not a long book. I liked. You know what's funny? I Neverwhere I don't think was too bad as lengthwise goes. But I remember like hating Neverwhere, and then I got to the end. I was like, oh my god, I really loved it. It was like one of those things where like when you take a step back, you're like, oh okay, I loved it. I'm
the
throwing
Magician's
shit.
trilogy
Well, I-
reads really fast, so that's also a good
cool.
recommendation.
Well, whatever we do decide to go with, because we could definitely, there's tons of authors I would love to break into here, like Terry Pratchett, and like just really fun things that aren't necessarily in the comic book world, but are seriously.
We're a pop culture podcast, you know.
Keep yawning. They're
Yeah, it
really,
doesn't have to be sci-fi. We can read like Angela's Ashes.
Yeah, the Scarlet Letter is what I was really trying to dig
Yeah,
into.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
War and Peace.
Yeah, War and Peace. That's a dude. You can read that in an afternoon, like nothing.
So yeah,
Anna
so I think it would be
Karenina.
good to like stay tuned and just kind of if there's something that you're interested in hearing.
It's good. Yeah, for sure. So the last year,
us
I
know.
got into reading books more than I ever have.
You know what book
So-
I have always wanted to read was like that. It was a series about Merlin written by Mary Stewart.
I started that.
It was like the Crystal Cave and
I started it actually when we first moved out here, and I just kind of once I packed it away for the move, I didn't touch it, but I liked it. I liked what I started.
cool. So yeah, so we can put like or if you're listening and you have recommendations,
Ooh, get in there.
feel free to drop us a line.
Drop us a line.
Yeah, maybe we'll put this episode on men writing women.
Yeah. Graphic
Not
multiverse
putting
at
on the Dark Tower
gmail.com.
subreddit. Oh, what was that,
Graphic
Chandler?
multiverse at gmail.com.
Yeah. But yeah, because we would love to hear it. But I guess before we, wrap up, because I know we're coming up on that time, real quick, apart from Dark Tower, what else have you guys been reading, watching, enjoying?
I started
Recommendations?
I started rereading Why the Last Man
Ooh.
because I have all the hardcovers sitting on a shelf next to me, and I'm like, I should probably open these at some point.
Still shrink wrapped.
The first one wasn't. The other 5 are.
Nice.
But yeah, so I haven't read Why the Last Man since like 2000. When did it end? Like 2007 or 8.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
So that's when I finished reading it, basically when it ended or whenever the last trade came out. And I loved it back then. Like, it was in my head, it's always been like my go-to, like, oh, that's just like my favorite comic book. And going back, speaking of like reading things that are like kind of cringy at times.
Yeah.
So it came out like 20 years ago, and it's still really good. I really like the story, but there's some cringy dialogue, and you're just like, that's not how people would talk.
I just tell myself, because even when I come across with moments where I make myself cringe, like things I've said in the past, instead of being, oh my God, I want to go like drown myself in my bathtub, I think, you know what though? By me having a cringy response to it means that I've grown.
Exactly. And that's definitely a good thing. And it's not like overtly offensive or anything. It's just like, that is how people talked 20 years ago. So like of the time it's right. But it's like, as a 18-year-old, I was just like, I get Yorick. I relate more. But as like a 32-year-old, I'm just like, Yorick kind of sucks.
Yeah, he does.
That's the weirdest thing about revisiting your heroes. Like,
he was never my hero, but like
no.
Well, but I mean, the characters you enjoyed. It's like with Scott Pilgrim. It's like some of it's great, some of it's like, oh God, why are you trying to date knives?
Yeah, she's a child.
Yeah, but when you look back at those things, like, oh, look at how far we've come as a society. And like Chandler said, we're looking at this through, the lens of,
2021
20 years of progress, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, the Why the Last Man show's not too far down the line.
That's true.
There was like a couple stills of it in some like promo trailer, so I figured I'd get it a little more fresh in my mind. So when the show comes out, I can. But I'm very excited for the show because like it's 20 years. Like hopefully, since it's taken so long for this damn show to be made, and I think it's coming out on FX. I think.
It'll be more mature. I think like Invincible, because Invincible has been fine-tuned to be way more
I think a lot
enjoyable.
A lot of comic book adaptions actually have been kind of better than their source material.
Oh yeah. Well, they need to be.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine if they adapted books like Iron Man or like even Spider-Man with like the 60s dialogue and everything?
Well, yeah, obviously. But, and then there's just even like storylines though, like because they're not as well, superheroes are a whole different thing because you'd be so burdened with the lore and the continuity. But yeah, I know.
What about you, Chandler? What are you reading or watching?
I've started my New Girl binge, so I'm in season 1. So
yay! I love New Girl. It's a fun show.
It's so precious.
It really is. Winston's my favorite.
Me too.
Did you get to the episode where he just starts doing the one earring?
No, not yet. I'm like on episode 4 or 5. Yeah.
Oh, yay. It's coming up. It's coming up. That's good.
Yeah. How about you?
I have been...
Or, I'm sorry, Chandler,
that was
sorry,
it.
okay, all right.
I've been playing Katamari Forever.
And she has been playing it forever.
I do play it a lot. And it's a lot of fun, though. It's been a long time since I just like kind of sat down and played a game, but it was like Katamari Forever came out in a time where I just wasn't in that phase of my life anymore. So I played the first one. Can't find the second one. I keep yawning. I think I need to like go to bed.
I feel that.
Yeah, this talking about the Dark Tower has been like Roland's 10-year night. We're just all older and thinner hair.
Yeah.
You look next to us, there's just like a dusty skeleton. You're like, what the?
We're like, first of all, who is that and where did it come from? Yeah.
Star sluts.
Anything else you've been? Guess we should call ourselves. Hey, we're
Star Sluts.
We're exploring the graphic multiverse with the Star Sluts. We'll be your guide through the multiverse. I'm trying to think what I've been doing apart from reading Dark Tower. I definitely have kind of dipped back into the comics just because I just kind of wanted to see how it was drawn. So a lot of the illustrations I think are really, really beautiful. And I guess the Invincible comics, that, that gets better as it goes, man. Like I feel like in the beginning it's kind of like that exploratory discovery writing, but like now I kind of feel like starting to see everything being introduced is now like
Yeah, they're kind of like doubling back and like referencing like the past stuff.
Yeah, but also like, oh, this has meaning now. Like the roosts have come home to
the chickens have come home to roost.
Yeah, roosts have come home to chickens.
The roost came home to cook some chicken.
Yeah. That's been really good. And
keep playing with your facial hair.
Angela's playing with my facial hair.
It's so luxurious. Okay. Well,
I'm distracted from thinking about what else I've been enjoying. But I'm gonna end the show on this note.
Trying.
I posted on Reddit, the Dark Tower Reddit, the picture of myself when I bought that Dark Tower print. It has 416 upvotes.
Wow.
And it has received 3 awards.
Wow.
2 of which have been the Wholesome Award.
Aww.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, so suck it.
Shooty. Bringing wholesome content to Reddit's important, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't even know Wholesome thing was a award, and I got 2.
I think the first upvote I ever got was talking shit about somebody's like crappy goatee on Ink Masters. That was
dozens
it.
of us.
I think
I don't have a lot of fans on Reddit. That's for damn sure.
I think my most interacted with thing on Reddit ever was somebody posted like a picture of like a Portal, the video game themed bedroom, and it literally looked like a jail cell, and like it looked like very well made, but all I said was just like, that's the least cozy bedroom I've ever seen. That's all I said, and it got like 7,000 upvotes or something crazy.
Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome!
That's pretty sweet.
It's great.
Because all I was like, I wouldn't want to sleep in that room.
I would have given you an upvote. That's pretty good.
Well, thank you all for listening and watching. I know we didn't cover news today, but we definitely will have a lot to talk about next week.
We got to wrap up the
Shang-Chi?
Falcon Winter Soldier too next week.
Falcon Winter Soldier and Shang-Chi better work. Dad jokes. Oh, we found a toy Psy in the trash the other day.
We did.
And Anne was like, look, it's a Psy. And I said, it's a Psy from the universe.
That's so good.
And thank you all for listening and hating this podcast because of me.
No.
Nobody hates it. Nobody hates it.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Tell us what you want us to read. Enjoy your issues. Explore the multiverse. Get the fuck out of here.
Get inside.